Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Preimesberger, editor of eWEEK. Thank you very much for joining us today on this new segment of eWEEK eSpeaks. It's a series of interviews with IT thought leaders from all segments of the business. Today, we have a very unusual guest. His name is Jon Fisher. He's an entrepreneur and the CEO and founder of CrowdOptics, based here in the Bay Area. Jon, welcome. Good to have you on eSpeaks.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah, Jon and I go back a few years covering tech, and he's always got something new to tell me. And he's going to talk to us today about not only his company and the tech that he brings, but also some political connections that he's got with the president-elect Joe Biden. So, Jon, tell us about that meeting with him and some of the work you've done for him.
Well, it was mid-December last year, and it was the last event of the evening, a little bit chaotic because there had been 2-3 events before mine, and Goldman Sachs was also having its annual event. So tough to get everyone in the room, but we did. About 50 of my employees and investors and partners. And the president-elect was just about to whisk off to Iowa. And this was his last stop in Northern California before Iowa decided. And we spent a few hours from about 8 in the evening, past 10 in the evening, just hearing his ideas. We were able to show him some really interesting medtech technology that I know he appreciated. And it was a really great kickoff to the last sort of semblance of normalcy that we and the planet enjoyed before this terrible virus struck.
Yeah. Tell me about what you demoed for him. The device that you guys have come up with.
So Zoom is a key partner of ours, and of course they are a leader and doing some things really well. What we're doing is live streaming and connecting enterprises and things that are very difficult to Zoom. For example, you're eyeball deep in the operating theater in a hospital. You have all these crazy machines like GEC arms or Stryko Mako machines that you're supposed to use for hip surgeries. And you need all these machines online. You need to be able to train using them. You need to be able to see the surgeries from multiple angles. You need to be able to do a host of things. And in the previous world, this worked pretty easily, including the makers of all of these devices. Their salespeople actually in the operating room. Not a lot of people know that. The sales guys in the operating room right next to the surgeon, giving advice and walking through the devices that he sells. So it's a very talented sales guy in this environment. But with these hospital lockdowns, with the a deadly environment and a whole change to the atmosphere, you need to really start doing this remotely if you're a med tech enterprise. And doing it remotely, as I mentioned, is really not easy. And so that's what we're doing as a company these days. We are allowing all of these devices to live stream. We're allowing multiple angles of the surgeries and some other things.
And so are the surgeons actually there in play, there on the spot, or are they remote directing someone else to do stuff?
The surgeries are performed by the surgeons in person. It's going to be a long time before the robots take over, but slowly and surely. And the robot, if you will, or the presence is actually supplementing or replacing the medical technology salesperson, just getting more people out of the operating theater, making it more efficient, being able to connect different locations more efficiently. That's the name of the game when going into a hospital is no longer a recognizable experience.
Let's see. And was Mr. Biden, what was his response to this demo? He's somebody I think who's pretty forward thinking, and I think he would be very appreciative of the innovation here.
Yeah, it was really a sight to see. The way that I introduced him to kick off was that I mentioned to my network that he was in the building, before going off to really start this thing, see how Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina reacted. He was in the building for a reason. And we got to spend some time with him and show him this stuff. And he means what he says. He's a very good man. He's been a a massive consumer of healthcare, unfortunately, in his life. Healthcare is also the face of the millions of people that he really wants to help more than anyone, the class of people that are really, I think, being left behind. So his response, you could sort of see it in his face, and his team around him was really great. And by the way, his team, my team and I have been together for a couple of decades, and they tolerate me. We're still together, but his team, as you're seeing in these initial appointments, I mean, they've been together for 30, 40, even close to 50 years in some cases, and they all really glow about him. And I think that's one of the critical indicators of leadership is illustrated in your team. And perhaps it's the biggest problem I have with the current administration is everyone's leaving or getting fired and writing books, and a lot of talent in that administration. I'm not saying otherwise, I'm not disparaging. It's just the team thing is really important.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The whole idea of working for yourself or being out for yourself as opposed to the team concept is pretty apparent, I think. There's no question. The differences in the incoming folks and the people going out.
Yeah.
Tell us a little more about the crowd encoder. I'm looking at it. It's a black box with 3 like antennas coming out of it.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that works.
It's a Frankensteinian creation. We built it from scratch. You can plug any HDMI piece of equipment in or out into it. It's wireless. It's very small and getting smaller. So, one of the keys to live streaming or conducting a major surgery is all of the disparate machinery that's involved, all these crazy machines that see inside the body and help with that. And again, you can't just live stream that in a traditional way. To get those machines online, we use this box that plugs in, and you can plug it into the wall, or you can have a battery. It can be completely wireless. Just a quick story. We deployed for John Elway when his team was winning the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago, just before the Super Bowl. And when you do that, when you deploy crazy technology, different angles of the action, and you have 50 or 60,000 fans banging on the network, right back when we could still do that, that's one of the most inhospitable environments on earth. And it's very difficult to do. And then translating that to the hospital room, some of these rooms are encased in lead. Sometimes the networks are crazy permissions. So just firing this stuff up is not just bringing your phone in by definition.
Right. It's funny you should mention John Elway. I've known John since he was a senior in high school down in Los Angeles when I was a sports writer. I covered him as a baseball player, not a football player, but a baseball player. And we've been friends for a long time. He's a great guy. It's interesting that you did some work with him.
My dad had him as a freshman at Stanford. It's too small a world.
It really is.
Yeah.
We got a few minutes left, John, maybe 4 minutes or so. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's look ahead. You're a forward-thinking guy. There's no question about it. Let's look ahead for the next year or 2 years. What do you see? What do you see coming in IT that we should be looking for? I think it looks like video is becoming more and more, immersed in our daily lives right now. But what else is coming that we should be looking for?
So, I'm looking forward to taking my family and even extended family to the snow this winter. We're all going to get tested. We're all going to do our thing. And if that bears out, that's what we'll do. That's what we did for Thanksgiving. That's what you have to do these days. But in these hospital environments where we're getting something elective or where it's very serious, they have completely and immediately changed, not just because of the virus, but because of when something like this happens over months and indeed years, you have to completely change permissions and controls and thereabouts. So this change in the hospital, through which all of these medical technology companies flow, through which a variety of other enterprises, we sold our last company to Oracle. They have a massive hospital presence in most verticals. It's going to really change dramatically, and it already is so, but change dramatically in this industry in terms of how business is done in hospitals and how it's going to happen moving forward. This is anecdote, vaccine or not. I think as a function of enterprise controls, everything from Sarbanes-Oxley to proper governance, companies, Fortune 500 companies, are now forced now and forever to do things drastically differently. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for fellow entrepreneurs to start building and start innovating in the hospital. And I say that candidly because a hospital is never something that I wanted to target. It's a very slow sales cycle. It's not a huge a lot of money, in that, and you have to be conscious of that in terms of building a business. But I think that's all changed. It's a very interesting sector for startup guys to pay attention to.
So it's a lot more in telemedicine, right? We're gonna be using a lot more of that. But what else do you see coming into hospitals?
I think not just telemedicine, but on the authentication side, we were security guys in a prior life in the enterprise stack. The whole notion, HIPAA compliance even has been suspended, given what's going on. I think you're going to see a real, opening and freer flow of information in these enterprises and in the stack. So you can penetrate with devices in the operating theater. You can, do the telemedicine piece, or you can get right into the stack, the heart, the neural network of these hospitals that wasn't possible before.
Yeah, I think the book is just opening. I think it seems like in progressive new tech in hospitals and healthcare in general. Yep. I think we're just seeing the beginning of a real change, like you say, in the way we take care of our bodies, and individually and as a species, I think. So that's great stuff, Jon. Listen, let's continue the conversation another time. Let's follow up with you because I know you're on the cutting edge of all this stuff, and I really, really appreciate your time today on eWEEK eSpeaks.
You too, Chris. Thank you again.
Yeah, Jon Fisher, CEO and founder of CrowdOptics in the Bay Area, San Francisco, California. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for everybody following along today on our eWEEK eSpeaks segment, thank you. Have a great rest of your eWEEK. Thanks for joining us on eWEEK eSpeaks. Go to eWEEK.com to hear more conversations with IT thought leaders.